Greetings, the internet. I am Eric Grooms, the film score fanatic, here with a review for The Mandalorian Chapter 4, Sanctuary, I believe it was titled. As always, I fall behind on my production of my review. This time, I could have posted it on Friday. I could have done everything on Friday. I had the day off. But it was a holiday, lots of stuff going on, and it got away from me. So here we are doing it again on Sunday, hopefully getting it posted sometime tonight. A little side note, I started reviewing this, and then somehow I deleted my note on my phone, which was a scary moment. I looked down and I'm looking at a totally different set of notes for another movie, luckily, it doesn't just disappear immediately. I could go to the deleted folder and find it, but that is beside the point. You don't care about that. Here we go, talking about Chapter 4. So something I've noticed, I don't know if it truly will be a pattern, but if we are to assume that there is any pattern in this, I'm catching that it seems like there's a kind of more of an action-packed, exciting, I'll put in air quotes because they're all entertaining episodes, but seems like there's a action-packed, cool, things happening episode, followed by a more quiet character, building the character's viewpoint a little bit deeper and stronger in the next episode. So going by that pattern, we had episode 1, which was the introduction, had a lot of exciting action, including the big storming of the Alamo scene with IG-11, which was a lot of fun. Second episode, a little more quiet. It was just mainly the Mandalorian by himself, with lots of contemplative scenes, I guess. Not very much dialogue going on. Then the third episode, as we saw last week, had a lot of awesome Star Wars action. And then we come to this fourth episode, and there maybe isn't as much of that awesome action. I could be contradicting myself because there was the big moment with a fight with a particular mechanic device that I'm trying not to spoil this early in the review. We'll get to that later. But mostly it was kind of a quieter episode of just like in the Westerns, man with no name visits a town, and they have to help that town fight off the bad guys. It's pretty tropey, but it's fun to see nevertheless in Star Wars, with a Star Wars skin over it. So this was the episode that was directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. Many of us knew ahead of time that, not because they released this information, but because we knew that Bryce Dallas Howard had directed the introduction of Cara Dune, which is the character played by, I'm drawing a blank, Gina Carano. I knew who it was, I just couldn't think of the name at the moment. So, we knew ahead of time that we were going to meet her in this episode, which we do, and I think Gina Carano did a fine job. It's not saying a lot, but this may be her best acting in her career thus far. But, don't take that as meaning it was a fantastic performance. It was a fine performance, great for her. But they have some good action for her character, which I think is what she will always excel at, because that's kind of what she is known for doing best. But she showed a lot of improvement in emoting and doing some good acting. And I don't know if that's just mostly credit to the directing or the writing. Maybe the dialogue suited her very well, and also probably whoever she was acting against. We would all like to think that she was acting against. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. I want to say Pablo, but that Pedro Pascal. My mind was saying Pablo Hidalgo. I know that's not right. He's the story group guy for Star Wars. We'd all like to think that Pedro Pascal is there on set acting all the time, but we know that there's at least 2 body doubles that do things on the show for the Mandalorian character. So who knows if he's in all the scenes where he's acting, or if there's just a body double there and he's doing voiceover, ADR as they call it, after the scene's already been shot. Who knows? Perhaps we'll never know exactly what the percentage of his actual involvement in the day-to-day shooting is, but we like to think that he's there. He's billed as the main character. You would think he would be, so he's probably getting paid like he's there all the time, so I would imagine Disney wants him to be there to do the acting anyway. Moving on next to the score. I'm a big fan of film music, obviously. I'm the film score fanatic. This show, it's fine. It still doesn't feel like Star Wars to me. I don't know that it ever will, and I'm talking specifically about the score, the music. The show very much is Star Wars. I love the Star Wars aesthetic and story style and everything like that, but the music for me just isn't very Star Warsian, which is hard to do. Obviously, I give credit to anyone who is called in to do this job, at least to the point that they have to. You're going to be compared to John Williams. That's just a fact, and that's not a very fair fact. I know, but it just is. And this, to me, the score, it's a fun score. I like the score. It's hard to, it feels weird to say it, but the score is fine as a score on its own. But for a Star Wars score, to me, it doesn't have the same level of excellence that I would hope for. So that's fine. I'll try to not talk about the score with every single time I do a review, but it's just so glaring to me. Like, the theme is, the main theme is fun, and it sticks in my head whenever, the credits start playing and the main theme plays, and it's stuck in my head for the next hour or two until something else takes its place. But nothing else. Like, the action music doesn't have any interest for me, so that's just me. I'll move on. But the biggest thing that was the coolest thing in this episode was getting to see some real legit AT-ST Walker action happening on the big screen. I say the big screen because I watch it every week. I watch the episodes on my home theater, and so it's very cinematic. And with that in mind, I'm going to talk a little bit spoilery about these Walker scenes. So, don't get spoiled by anything I'm about to say. If you haven't seen the episode, watch it, come back, and you can see what my thoughts on this scene. Otherwise, stick around and we'll talk about it together. So, the main thing that I wanted to talk about this AT-ST scene was at first glance you look at it and you kind of have a mini eye roll where it's like, really, it's dark out and there's this big walker and it has basically big red eyes staring at you. which is seems a little like, come on, really? But the more I thought about it, it totally would make sense. It's logical if you base it on our Earth military vehicles and whatnot. When they go on red alert, all hands on deck, everyone to your battle stations. In a submarine, for instance, a red light comes on, like it changes to red light, and that signals to everyone that it is time to go. We are in the real deal here. So it totally makes sense that the inside of this vehicle would be bathed in red light, and it's night, so all you see is that red light coming out of those open windows on an ATST. So that kind of detail really, for me as somebody who loves all those little goofy details, it really tickles me. And if that's the way it is, the Empire is all about image as well as action, and so like that would be a really terrifying visual for an opposing army, or even just not even an army, just civilians who you're trying to keep under your thumb and in control, to just have an ATST walking around with red eyes glaring everywhere, glaring. Obviously they're not really eyes, but so yeah, that was a really cool visual, and I applaud the direction for making that decision. I don't know if that's Bryce Dallas Howard that makes that decision, or if it's the visual effects people who came up with that idea, or even hell, Dave Filoni probably sketched an ATST and put red light in the windows or something like that. The only problem I had with this, and this comes down to the CGI, the visual effects team. You could see into that cockpit of the ATST, and it moved. Imagine my head as the ATST. It moved, like we saw it moving and looking in all different directions, and you could see inside the cockpit, and there was all this detail of the inside of the cockpit, which was nice, and tells me that the 3D modelers who made this, they modeled the inside of that cockpit, and they made it to where whatever perspective it was, you could see inside. You know what you couldn't see, and I'm sure I'm not the only person that noticed this, you couldn't see any living creatures in that cockpit piloting that machine, which maybe that means it was on autopilot, but that doesn't make any sense. They certainly played it like there were people in there driving it, because they got killed at some point. Spoiler alert, we're in the spoilers, so it shouldn't be a problem. But anyway, that annoyed me. I talk about the details in this show a lot, and they usually have every detail covered. That was a detail that really kind of just rubs me the wrong way. And it's bathed in red light, and it's dark. It's a nighttime scene. It didn't have to be that detailed. You just needed a silhouette of somebody, some head bobbing back. Like, it could have just been such a simple, basic humanoid character in there, but they didn't do that, and it's probably going to be a glaring thing that I will notice forever whenever I watch this episode. So that's one drawback for me. Am I crazy? Maybe. I don't think so. I think that's a detail that should have been clearly handled within the episode. But so I don't want this to go too long. There's not a whole lot new to say. This was mostly developing the character and showing that that there was never going to be safety for this little baby Yoda. No matter where they go, no matter where he drops him, the Mandalorian can't just leave him somewhere, because he's got a target on his back forever until the Mandalorian takes care of this. So, speculation for the future. I think this means that now that the Mandalorian knows for a fact that he can't take the little baby Yoda anywhere for safety, he's going to have to go on the offensive. He's going to have to make it to where the people who want to capture this don't think it's worth it anymore. So I think you can see that trajectory coming. That'll be what happens next. He'll probably get a whole team together in the next 4 chapters. I would imagine we probably have one more chapter where he's kind of on the run, and maybe this is when we finally meet the real big baddie of, I believe he's called Moff Gideon, or I don't think he's a Grand Moff, but he might be. Giancarlo Esposito's character, who's an Imperial Moff, and he'll have his Death Troopers and whatnot. I'm guessing we'll probably meet them in the next chapter, and then probably chapter 6 we'll start seeing like the team come together. I'm guessing Cara Dune will come back into play. I still think there's another IG-11 or another IG unit that'll come back into play, or it'll just be the same IG unit, IG-11, voiced by Taika Waititi, who was repaired or wasn't actually mortally damaged in the first episode, and that'll be like a team of fighters, and maybe they'll get some other people involved to protect this little baby Yoda and maybe save the day in the next 4 episodes. So we're halfway through the season. So far it's been pretty awesome, at least I think so. If you have Disney Plus, you should be watching it. If you don't have Disney Plus, you should find somebody who you know that does have it, and you should be watching it probably with them, because I'm sure if they're like me, they would love to share it with somebody else. So, Star Wars is a communal experience in many ways. So I hope you are experiencing it and you are enjoying it. Let me know what you think of this episode and my thoughts on it. I feel like I'm kind of scratching the surface this week, and to me, maybe that's because it wasn't that deep of an episode, which doesn't support my theory that I said earlier about the opposite episodes being whatever. Doesn't matter. Pay no attention. Comment down below what you thought of the episode, and if you think I'm an idiot or not. Always remember to like the video. That will help the channel in the long run. And subscribe if you want to see more of my thoughts and reviews of film and television. And I appreciate any and all engagement, as always. I still haven't decided, since it's Star Wars, I kind of want to always end it out with "May the Force be with you." But I also kind of want to end it, since it's The Mandalorian, with "I have spoken." I don't know. Maybe you should comment down below what you think I should say at the end of all of these reviews. Should I just stick with "May the Force be with you"? Or should that just be for other Star Wars things? And this should be "I have spoken"? I don't know. You probably don't care. Thanks for listening. I've been Eric Grooms, the Film Score for Fanatic, and I will see you next time.